Matt, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here. First question I ask everybody is, what makes you credible for people to listen to when it comes to life coaching?
Life experience. I think anybody that gets into life coaching or personal development or anything like that, usually they've got into it because they want to improve. They want to develop, which often means there's some trauma in there, which means there might have been, some tough things that they weren't happy about that they needed to overcome. And I'm a big believer in that. I think anybody can get qualifications, anybody can do courses, and you should, obviously. You don't want to just walk out to the street, hey, I'm going to be a life coach today. But I think the thing that makes the difference when you say about credibility, and I think one thing I'm keen on is also saying I'm not a finished article. Like I'm a work in progress, like very much so.
Yeah.
In that I still have struggles and challenges like everybody.
Yeah.
And
Facebook has been one of them.
well, Facebook has been a big one. We're getting there. We will get there. Yeah. But I share that with my clients. I'll quite often use anecdotes, stories, or my own life stories of what I'm going through now. Not because I'm going through my own therapy session. I don't just use my clients to help me. But I know that there's a lot of times where a client hears me say, oh, do you know, I struggle with this. And they go, I don't feel as bad about it now.
Yeah.
Because I thought you were crushing it, Matt. I'm like, we're all human. Yeah. So for me, it's experience. I have got qualifications as well, just to be sure. Anyone wants to check.
You've done a lot in your career. So you've got an entertainment business, you've got the life coaching business, which is Success School.
Yep.
You've got TV appearances, which seem to be coming up very often. Mm. You're obviously doing these massive performances with some pretty significant audiences with the tribute act that you're still a part of, right?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
How do you balance all of this stuff? And how do you actually get the most out of all of these different areas in your life?
Great question. So for me, well, the first question is, how do I balance it? And I think to answer that, I think a better question is why? Why do so much? And
sorry.
Yeah, come on.
Sorry.
Come on. I'll teach you afterwards about podcasting. It's fine. I'm only a world record podcaster. Yeah, you didn't put that in. You know I'm a world record holder. Get that in. It was.
I do know, but it's not in the.
Do you know what, Aaron? Do you know what? The list made me feel really proud. It's like it's making me sound so much better than I actually am. So thank you, actually. But yeah, for me, the reason I say why is because for some people it wouldn't work doing so much. So it's about that self-awareness of going, don't look at me and be like, oh my God, Matt's doing all these different things. I need to be like that. And there's something that Tony Robbins coaches, which is the 6 human needs. And when you understand your hierarchy of needs, it helps inform your decisions. And one of the ones that's high for me is variety. So I know if I was just doing the same thing, had the same routine, the same schedule, I would be unfulfilled. So I know variety is an important thing for me. So that's like a little caveat I want to start with is, it's like anything with any guest you get on your podcast. You're going to take bits that resonate and that work for you, disregard the rest. So if you're watching this now and you're the sort of person that the idea of, uncertainty and every day being different sounds like hell, don't take my advice on this. But for me, variety makes me happy. It makes me fulfilled. In terms of how do I manage it, get a good team around you. And again, I think that's genuinely something that is important to talk about. Don't try and do everything on your own. The sooner you can delegate, the sooner you can outsource, I think is key. And the other thing is scheduling. So I schedule my days literally hour by hour. I know exactly what I'm doing specifically. And I think that's something people get wrong. They just do a to-do list. And a to-do list, the idea of a to-do list is to remove a bit of overwhelm, remove a bit of pressure and be like, that's what I need to do. Then you see 55 things on a to-do list. It has the exact opposite impact. You're suddenly overwhelmed and filled with pressure. So I always say to-do lists are fine, but for me, they're the starting point. Start with a to-do list and then schedule it and recognize what's the priority today, tomorrow. That changed my life. When I started, started doing it about 7 years ago. And when I started doing that, suddenly it meant I could have variety, but also sanity. Because up until that point, I was just busy being busy. I was a stress head. I ended up putting on loads of weight. My relationship failed. And the reason being, because I was ambitious, but I didn't have the structure, and I didn't have the way of managing that ambition, if that makes sense. So yeah, I would say building a good team and scheduling.
What do you want me to ask you next?
Are you at that point? Oh, I see. Yeah, I'll tell you what. I'll do you a discount on my podcasting 101 course after.
So one of the things that, when I discovered it, obviously we've worked together, and when I discovered the whole performance side of what you're doing in life, it seems like such a contrast to the coaching side of what you're doing, and it's really like spiked my curiosity what that's like. Now obviously I've spoken on stage with lots of people in a business context.
And you were good.
Oh, thank you very much.
I loved it at the EMC.
More than once, but yeah.
Yeah.
You were good that one time you've ever done it. No. International.
The one time I've seen you live.
It's a
international speaker.
Dick swinging contest has commenced.
The egos are out.
That's it. International speaker. You go back to back on headlines, but no. The thing that I was curious about, obviously, going out there and singing, performing music is such a mad vibe for me, because I've got a music degree. I've studied music, like it's a big passion of mine, but I've never gone out on stage.
What sort of music?
All music, house music,
Yeah.
hip hop music, even just binary beats and binaural beats, binaural beats, so just frequency sounds.
Wow, so you've proper studied
music and sound design. So that was my actual education in uni. What's it like getting up on that stage? Is it easy? Is it hard for you? Obviously, performance and public appearances seem to be something you're really comfortable with. What's that like?
So for me, now performing in music, in what I do, and I say do, I don't do it regular now, but I did it every week for years. Is dead easy for me. There's this thing that they speak about, which is like the day you're not nervous is like the day you should quit. I don't really get nervous, so maybe I should.
Is that why you're doing it less?
But kind of,
Does it mean do you think that you don't get nervous because you don't care anymore?
Care is probably the wrong word, but certainly there's a lack of passion for it now.
Right.
And again, that takes self-awareness. The amount of people that stay in jobs just because it's safe, because it provides them with income. There's so much I can get out of, performing on stage to 20,000 people in Barcelona or Germany, like I have done, because you got people screaming at you, got a lot of girls screaming at you, which is nice, and you get to tour the world. You're with your best mates. So just for anyone listening, who's not clear, it's a Take That tribute band. People are thinking, is this like some rock star or something? No, I'm a pretend pop star. So I started doing that when I was 17. And, you've got to remember, at 17, you're still at college, still figuring stuff out. Someone says, I'll pay you a few £100 on the weekends to tour and have girls scream at you. You're like, I've made it. Wow. Like, life complete, done.
Yeah.
Fast forward to nearly 32, and you've done it for many, many years. And so I got to the point in 2019, I was just totally unfulfilled with it. And that's where it was hard, because it's like, we've got thousands of fans that are genuinely loyal, passionate fans. Some of them have been to see us 30, 40 times live, We have like a YouTube mockumentary series that has had tens of thousands, I think even some episodes have done hundreds of thousands of views. And we've got a fan base. And obviously, if I leave, what's the impact that's going to have on the other boys? What's the impact that's going to have on my income? What's my social media following going to do? Like, all these things I've built up over a decade. It was a really uncertain, scary decision. But come back to your question, do I get to a point where I didn't care as much? That's kind of the problem. Yeah, I wasn't, buzzing to be on stage anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm doing what was the dream, thousands of people looking at you. Not every night, sometimes it's hundreds. Yeah. Sometimes it's 6. I'm in the Dog and Duck pub around the corner, which we have done.
Shout out the transparency.
Yeah, there's a complete range of work that we've done. So it just got to that point where, for me, you've got to call that a day, and you've got to change.
Do you think it's harder performing in front of massive crowds, 20,000 people in Barcelona, or 6 people in the Dog and Duck?
6 people in the Dog and Duck. There's no question. That is, soul destroyed. Well, it's soul destroyed if the 6 people don't want you there. And they're just like, get off.
They're not paying attention.
Yeah, horrendous. And I have a lot of respect for people who do like solo gigs, like that kind of gig, when you're on your own to a backing track.
Damn.
With 6 guys.
And not even
down
a band
in
or
Pines.
nothing.
Yeah, that must, full respect. Yeah, but the big gigs, they are a dream, you know, they're the easy gigs, really. When you know your craft and you as a band are tight and you know what you're doing, you just go and enjoy yourself. That's all it is. Yeah. And that's the other thing, they're my best mates, you know. I've known them since I was 17, the guys in that band. Yeah. So to leave that, I was leaving my social life as well, you know. And I did leave, I left in 2019, but I own the company, so... No, but my point is, I left, but I'm sort of back now doing it when a venue say, look, we really want Matt to do this one, or, you know, it's like a rebooking, or it's a big gig or something like that. I do still do the odd gig.
So have you got someone who replaces you in the band?
Yeah.
Wow. So then you just drop him when you say, hey.
Well, he's doing well. He's got some good stuff going on. So we have a really good, he's one of my best mates. We have a good relationship. So yeah, it's not how it sounds like I'm some dickhead that runs this company and goes, I fancy doing that one. We got 20,000 on that, yeah? Lots of fit women.
Hey, take a break, bro. I'm checking in. Substitution.
Next week, dog and duck, 6 people, you're on that. It's not like that. It's a little bit like that. But going back to the variety thing, you know, that for me, now I can enjoy the gigs again because it's not all I have.
Yes.
When I was younger, it's all I had. And you know, when I was building the business, it's like, as you know, building a business is a 7-day-a-week job, 24 hours when you're first building it. So I'm doing that in the office, then I'm going on the road, getting in at 6 a.m, feeling like shit, having to get up after 2 hours sleep and work in the office. Yeah. It just took over my whole life. It ruined relationships. It, you know, meant, like I say, I got put on weight and was a stress head. So now I come back to it and I can enjoy it again now. Yeah.
What are some of the funny experiences you've had doing all of these shows over these years?
Funny.
What are some of the
I
things
can't
that
tell you
stand
any
out?
of them. You got to think like lads at 17
on the road
in a van,
about to perform in front of hundreds of people. Even at that age, is massive.
Yeah.
So you're getting loose.
It's football team banter. That's what you've got. You've got lads that, you know, and it's weird because we've grown up together. So now it's like Dan, who's my best mate, the Gary Barlow in the band.
Gary Barlow.
He's yeah, very good. We are auditioning. I'll give you a call.
The Indian Gary Barlow. Yeah, it reminds me of the Punjabi Elvis that I saw as a kid growing up.
Is that a real thing?
Yeah, he had a turban and he used to do Elvis impressions and gigs. And he gave us. We met him at the temple. He was doing like selfless service at the Gurdwara, and he was like, "Yeah, I do Elvis," and we used to call him Elvis Singh, and we didn't believe him. And then he brought back the next week a DVD of him performing
to show you.
We took it home and we watched it, and it was the funniest, bro. This guy.
Oh, is it like a comedy act?
No.
Oh, it wasn't meant to be funny.
He's the Punjabi Elvis, and he would go so viral on TikTok,
Today?
Right now, like, if he got that footage and put it on TikTok, it was...
Where is it? You need to get him
What
to
was
do
that
this.
song? Something about a dog. Work like a dog, or... What's that song?
Elvis song?
I've got to put it on the spot. that's all I can remember.
Work like a dog.
No, he's like,
you probably is. I mean...
Work like a dog, or something like that. It was mad. It was hilarious.
You see, it could be a niche thing. I'm thinking we should have a chat about this Gary Barlow thing.
No, but anyway, starting on the Gary Barlow topic, right? You've obviously had some really high views on TikTok with some of your clips, right? From various different things. One of those was the Graham Norton show?
Yeah.
That you guys were in the audience. Walk me through that. How did that come about? Because were you guys invited because they were going to be there, or were you guys like, we need to be there because they're going to be on?
We got invited. And actually, what was interesting is this is years ago, 2014, I think it was. And it was around the time where I was getting advice on like SEO and blog writing. It was like the thing you needed to be doing. So at the time, Jason Orange had just left Take That, and Take That were going to continue as a 3-piece.
Yeah.
So I wrote a blog about it.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, the producer of Graham Norton found us because of that blog.
Sick.
Which was mad. And all it was, I think it was a Friday, I got a phone call in the office. And it was this lovely lady from Graham Norton show. She said, we've got to take that coming on Tuesday. And we've got this idea, I've just stumbled across you. And I've got this idea, it would be great that they meet their tribute and you're a 4-piece and they're a 3 and ask the question, what are you going to do? Like, are you going to sack him or not? And have a bit of fun? And what she said was, we need to have a meeting, and I think it was like the Monday morning we'll have the meeting to get the go-ahead, because these producers, researchers have to get ideas together, put it round the table, and obviously not everything gets the go-ahead. And so Friday afternoon I get that call, it's then the weekend, so you're not going to hear anything. And we're like, we could be going to London on Tuesday and being on the Graham Norton show, but we don't know. Monday we get the phone call, it's happening. Tuesday we're on a train. Tuesday night we've taken that, Nicole Kidman, Hugh Bonneville. Who else was there? Someone else famous. Julie Walters.
What, backstage?
Obviously Graham Norton. Yeah, we met them backstage.
So they did actually get to meet you and say...
Yeah, we even had like a dressing room and everything.
Did they know who played who straight away?
We didn't meet Take That before.
Right.
We met Nicole Kidman before, but we didn't meet Take That until after we'd filmed with them.
Yeah. So by that time...
So when they saw us in the audience, that was
revealed.
genuine. That reveal was genuine.
Right, that's a pretty smart way of doing
it. On the TV. But it was a really surreal thing. And actually on the day when we got there, they brief you and they sort of said, because it's not live, it's a pre-record, you could be completely cut. So it's all these kind of, as you know with television,
the same as Dragons
there's
then,
a lot. Right. And as soon as we finished filming, the producer, you could just tell they had a great vibe about them. And they were like, we'll be very surprised if that gets cut. And it went amazing. We didn't really have anything planned. There was a few planned bits, but we just chatted for real. And when you talk about views, we got millions of views on TikTok through that. It obviously got us millions of views on TV. And it was very good for business. A lot of bookings off the back of that. A lot of bookings. Also, interestingly, a lot of online hate, because you get both ends of the coin, right? The bigger you put yourself out there, the bigger the reward, but also you get the hate as well. So one comment said about our Gary Barlow, worst singer in the universe. Not even the world, the universe. And that comment itself, I think, got something like 200 likes, approving that they agreed with him. And I just thought, it just opened my eyes back then.
Was it on a clip of him singing?
Yeah, it was on, so he sang on the show, just a little bit a cappella. And it was, the BBC actually released the whole clip of us on their YouTube. So it was on there where it's got obviously a lot of views. And worse.
So a bit of trolling.
Bit of trolling.
But worth it in the end.
Worth
commercially.
It. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you got to take the rough through the smooth. That's this game, isn't it? Social media and TV. It's just part of the package, unfortunately.
Talk to me about your social media strategy then right now, because like we said, you're doing pretty well, especially on platforms like TikTok. Why have you focused so much on short form content right now?
It's where the attention is, isn't it? I think long form builds trust, and the short form, thank you. And edit this. And the short form, like I know what I'm talking about, is the thing that puts the eyeballs on the brand. And I just have started to see such an opportunity on TikTok in terms of virality, in terms of the algorithm's just way more in your favour than most other platforms. And obviously then that extends to YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels, and so on. So I think that's the idea of this social media game, let's call it, is knowing what the relevant thing is now, what's working, what's the best thing to put your energy and time into, and capitalise on that opportunity. And so right now, I've only taken it seriously on TikTok from December. So it's only been a couple of months at the time of us recording this, and already I've done videos 500,000 views and that kind of stuff, and it's just really shows you, you would never have done that doing a Facebook Live or whatever in 2018 or whatever, when that was the place. So for me, I think that's the rule, is always get the up-to-date advice, see where the best place to get the best return on your time is, and double down on it. And that's what I'm doing, 3 to 4 posts a day, consistently, 7 days a week.
Love it. With, you wearing so many hats, you need that variety in your life. One of those hats at one point was bodybuilding. Why do you shake your head? You feel tired just thinking about the commitment to it.
The trauma of it,
Really,
yeah.
Walk me through what started you in that journey of preparing yourself to go on stage against all these other men at the time who were competing in bodybuilding?
Okay, I've got to be honest about this one. I think...
Oh, so you weren't honest about any of the others?
Yeah, I've lied about
There's
everything.
no 20,000. There's no 20,000 in Barcelona. It's just dog and duck, week in, week out. No Nicole Kidman. Kidman wasn't even on the show that day.
No, the reason I say I've got to be honest about this one is because at the time, I think I was on a bit of a journey, and I was being very much heavily led on that journey by my coach at the time.
Right.
That was sort of a business mindset coach.
Yeah.
Who is not somebody I would recommend or shout out on this podcast.
Oh, no.
It was a bad experience.
What happened?
What happened was I got to a point in my life where I got burnt out, I got exhausted, split with my girlfriend. There was a few deaths that I went through, experienced, and I'd been building this business since I was 19, and at this point I'm 27, something like that. And I just got to that point of what the fuck was the point in doing all this? You know, I'm approaching 30, I'm not married, I've not got kids, I've not travelled, I've just built a business. I've just sacrificed my 20s for this business, and I'm now at this point where it's just existing. It's not making me loads of money, you know, I'm not now able to enjoy the rewards of it. I'm still working 7 days a week. I'm single, I'm alone, and I just went down a bad path. Ended up drinking nearly every night, tried drugs for the first time, was turning up to the office still hungover and zero enthusiasm to be there. Didn't want to be in the band anymore, wanted to quit. And it was the first time, I think, that I really understood this idea of mental health. And, you know, because I'd always been ambitious when I was younger. If people struggled, I was like, come on, let's keep going. Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Then that happened, and I questioned everything. And then there's this motivational podcast, and there's this coach on this motivational podcast, and I just got sucked into it all about this. And it's very much the no nonsense, get off your ass, sort your shit out, change your life, no excuses. And to some degree, I did need that. I needed this journey, you know. The journey cost me tens of thousands of pounds, and it was fucking tough. But this coach had done bodybuilding, and he sort of said, you need to do it, because if you're somebody who's now bettering yourself and improving your mindset and going on this personal development journey, you can't just keep going at the gym just half-assed. How far are you going to take this? You need to be able to prove to yourself that you can go extreme. And the truth is that that relationship was toxic. He was a narcissist, a bully. It was very much led by fear. And I've actually reflected on this. I've had a lot of people in my life along the way. From when I was 8, I had a dance teacher in performing arts classes that was like that. And at college, I had a teacher. I've had these kind of moments in my life. So I thought it was a really good thing to have somebody like that, because I'd always known it, and I always knew it got results. So was the bodybuilding show really my idea? No. Was it right for me? No. You know, I developed an eating disorder in the process of preparing. I was around loads of people that I realised also had eating disorders and were taking steroids, and I was like, this whole world is filled with people that have got insecurities and trying to mask those insecurities by putting on more and more muscle and standing half naked on stage and everyone going, oh, well done, you look good today. That's not healthy. You know, if you've got insecurities, you can't just, and this is just my opinion, but you need to deal with them in a way where you don't need a six-pack and big muscles to feel better about yourself. So the important bit is
obviously
this.
You're not saying that's everybody in that space, or are you? Is every bodybuilder
I've yet to meet
insecure?
somebody that isn't.
Is every bodybuilder insecure and lacking that self-love and acceptance, which is why they're up there?
I think so.
Wow.
I do.
I've never done it, so I've never had the first-hand experience. Obviously, I keep myself
You don't need to. You don't need to. But I think it's like any success. You know, the multimillionaires I've met and worked with, the TV actors, and why are they doing it? It's not just because it's fun and passion. It's my passion. Fuck off. you're doing it. That's something within doesn't feel enough. So you've got to go out and get something externally to feel enough.
And prove it.
And prove it, yeah. Prove it to yourself, prove it to the world, prove it to the people who bullied you at school.
Yeah. Who do you think you were trying to prove your success to as you've been growing these businesses and taking on all of this extra responsibility?
It's a great question, and I think it's there's nuance to the answer. It's not just any one person as such. When I've reflected a lot, and it's not that they've put pressure on me, but a lot of it for me is my parents. And I think part of the reason is because I'm an only child.
Right.
And it's almost like an unconscious thing of, I'm their only one, and they gave me so much. I was so lucky. You know, my mum and dad are from very humble beginnings. Dad was on a council estate growing up and became a fireman. Mm-hmm. My mum's a mobile hairdresser. You know, we've not got traditional success in the family. And I know they gave me so much love, so much attention. Anything I wanted, they'd just do extra shifts and whatever they could to try and be able to provide it. Took me to acting classes when I was 8.
Wow.
And I think I was just very aware, not necessarily consciously aware, but it was like in the subconscious that you can't let these down. They've sacrificed their life for you. So I think a lot of it's that. And then I think it expands into, then you go into the performing world and it's all very ambitious and it's all very dog eat dog and judgmental. And then you get social media into the mix and everybody's comparing the Lamborghini lifestyle, Rolex watches, Dubai. And I think it just compounds. And I think mine isn't a unique story. I think this is a real thing for many people. This is why you've got so many into the bodybuilding and needing to build multi-million-pound empires. It's not because, in my opinion, they want to change the world for everybody else in the world. It's because they're trying to change something to make them feel better.
So it's not that clip at Einstein Marketer about I've got a $150 million valuation business and here's an emotional cinematic trailer about how I'm changing human trafficking. That's not the real intention, you're saying.
I think what happens is people usually...
'Cause I'll be quite dead honest, that clip right before I came on, I had to speak to the presenter and I grabbed him. I'm like, dude, you need to reprogram the room because the energy has just been thrown off a cliff with such heavy emotional content leaving the stage. And he did, he got everyone on their feet, thank God, to just lighten the mood a little bit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's the thing, it's like everybody who's promoting money being the solution, I feel like this, it's an old school mindset as well. It's that Tony Robbins generation of coach, which I love. I've read Awaken the Giant Within, like there's so much value in the traditional coaching, but there's also things that have changed now. And this idea that money is the solution, I feel is becoming a very old mantra and quite outdated because people don't need money to be happy anymore. They don't need more information to necessarily be happy and fulfilled and content. And that means that they're at peace. But a lot of the validation you just mentioned, the Dubai, the Rolex, it's not just Dubai, it's the first class flight to Dubai.
Yeah.
Can't go to Dubai without
with the
first
champagne
class.
and
And you can't not post it.
No, you got to post it.
God forbid
just so you know, if I ever go, I am posting it.
God forbid you ever spend those Amex points on that first class and just enjoy it without ever showing anyone else.
You can't. You'd post it though, wouldn't you? I'd post it.
This is it. This is the thing. But for me, it's this whole bracket of what success means is changing. And, you know, everyone's probably aware who knows my story. I went through these different things of spending money, like getting money, spending money, watches, you know, I've got Rolexes, I bought a Porsche, the top spec I could find. I did all these things to try and validate my success, which is what I was talking about at EMC as well. I'm feeling no different at the end of it. And then it's actually, oh, you know what, I need to look at what's going on up here and what's going on in my heart. And that's what led me to actually speaking to therapists and finding out, actually, let me dig into my past and find out why I am the way I am. And I think a lot of the high performers in the world, and you see it, man, like, you know, in business, you see it in, you know, you mentioned actors and actresses killing themselves, you know, rock stars overdosing, which is probably a bit more likely in that arena.
That world,
But like, they're not feeling that fulfillment and that actual thing that they were chasing. And it all starts with trauma. And the trauma that you experience doesn't have to be extreme. It could be really negative consequences of a bully just punching you in the face at school one one life-altering event which changed the chemistry in your brain to then impact, I've got to now prove to that bully, when we get into our careers and when we get into business and the working world, I need to be richer than him, or proving that you have to be rich to your parents because they put all this effort into you and you need to show them a return on investment to make them proud. But ultimately that trauma often comes from just wanting to be loved and accepted and adored by people. That's been my discovery. If I make more money, more people will love me and more people will accept me and more people will actually promote me rather than feel jealous and envious of me, which was partly my experience as a teenager. I was doing good things in basketball, I was doing good things in my education, and I used to get told, you think you're too clever? Why would you ever, or why would I have to ever not want to be more intelligent or more clever? But it was that whole negative context to don't think you're so smart. We know what you're up to. You know what I mean? Suppressing your creativity and your ability to express yourself. Now, I resonate with a lot of what you just said. Obviously, it can transcend into the bodybuilding space as well. This steroid thing that you mentioned. So, were you influenced to take steroids yourself?
I was advised to, but I didn't.
Yeah. Because I've seen you on TV talking about this as well.
Yeah, and
were you really shocked? Let's be honest. Were you really shocked when you found out, oh wow, the prevalence of steroids in bodybuilding is what it is?
Well, maybe I've been naive, but yeah, because my understanding was any professional sports or even amateur sports, they do drugs testing and things like that. And I'm like, not in the bodybuilding world. Like that's why they have the Natty League, which is about being natural.
Which is basically a bunch of guys who look like CrossFitters.
Yeah.
Even the CrossFitters are getting juiced up now.
That's the thing, exactly. And
everyone's on the juice, man.
And I think I didn't know the sport, I didn't know the world, and it was an eye-opener, let's just say that,
This eating disorder then, so was it because you had to cut calories and all of this stuff, and you realised that a lot of people have this bodybuilding eating disorder?
Yeah, so I had a little bit of bulimia when I was 17. And that was just, you're at that point in your life where a lot of change is happening. You're looking at yourself and looking at bits you're not happy about. I was struggling with my weight. And I think I'd always struggled with my weight massively because I was in the performing industry. And, we were told,
under a microscope.
When you're dancing and stuff like that. And I mean, I was told as an actor.
I mean, how big were you?
I was never huge.
Oh, right. You weren't obese?
No,
like
not at all.
Classic obesity?
Not at all. But it was
that
that
a bit heavy around the edges?
Heavy around the edges. Yeah. And you've got to always find what's my casting bracket. And it was never going to be, when I was growing up, it was more in that sort of the good roles, like the leading roles. And you didn't have a chubby leading man, he has to look a certain way. And that's what I was taught and told. So yeah, you're in an audition, there's 10 other people that look similar to you, but you're going to compare, a bit like the bodybuilding, you're always looking at your competition. So I had a little bit of a bulimia when I was 17, and it's mad really, but...
What's bulimia for anyone who doesn't know?
So it's where you binge eat and then throw it all up.
On purpose?
On purpose, yes. And the reason I was first introduced to it, bizarrely enough, was it was a Hollyoaks storyline. I was watching Hollyoaks when I was 17, and this girl was secretly doing it, this character, and it just sparked this idea. I love food, I really struggle restricting myself, but I want to lose weight, and that's how it started.
Trying to get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, and that only lasted maybe 6 months, if that. It was a very small thing, and very quickly, thankfully, I've got to shout out my cousin, Dan, who's a personal trainer, and he introduced me to fitness and nutrition and understanding macros and calories and actually realising I wasn't doing any good to my body. And like, if I wanted long-term health and stamina and fitness and a good physique for the rest of my life, throwing up every day is not helping your body. So I learned more, I educated myself, and I never did it again. So that's just a small bout at 17, fast forward to when I'm 30 doing this bodybuilding show. And it was absolute hell. You was every morning, I'm in my boxer shorts having to send check-ins to my coach, and he's scrutinising every bit of my body. You're given a very strict diet plan that's the same every single fucking day, like eat those meals, nothing else, drink that amount of water, get that amount of steps, train twice a day. it was so regimented. And going back to what we said earlier, I like variety. Like, that's one of my human needs. Any coach that was working with me, if they was properly working on me being the best me, would know this is a bad idea. And it got to that point where the only way I could fulfill this goal that I've now set and do what my coach is telling me and not have a nervous breakdown because I'm so hungry all the time and I'm craving all these things, was to eat it all and throw it back up.
Jeez Louise.
So that's what I started doing.
Tough.
Probably for about 3 months going up to the bodybuilding show. But what I did know at that point, I knew as soon as the bodybuilding show was over, I was out. I was never going to work with that man again. He was toxic. I knew I'd got caught up into this world, and I was actually scared to leave him. It's important to say that. Anyone looking from the outside in could go, well, just, you're paying him. Just go, you idiot. It wasn't like that. It was a manipulative relationship where I was kind of scared to get out of it. I was scared.
And this was your coach. You were scared to get away from.
It was my coach for 18 months.
Wow.
So I was scared to leave my coach.
Yeah,
I was paying a lot of money.
Who coaches others now?
Yeah.
Obviously, that seems like a good example of what you don't want to be. Somebody that your clients are scared to leave.
Yeah.
But you obviously mentioned you were quite vulnerable when you started your life coaching journey as a client.
When I was a client, yeah. Definitely.
And how do you feel that, you speak about such a terrible experience. How do you feel that affects the industry? Because there's so many coaches out there. Look, you're either in agreement with coaching and mentorship as a whole, or you're of the other mindset, which is I can do it all alone. Why am I going to pay somebody? I can get there myself. I can turn up to the gym myself if it was bodybuilding, whatever.
Sure.
How does that impact the industry, stories like that? And why are you so comfortable to tell that story? Obviously, given that it might have repercussions, that it'll put some people off life coaching.
So I think if you look at any industry, whatever qualifications they've got, you still get good and bad. Harold Shipman was a doctor. He murdered a lot of people. And he had the best qualifications you could get, studied very hard to become a doctor. So that's quite an extreme, obviously, example. We're doing serial killers on this podcast. But
I'm sure I've seen that on Netflix somewhere. Yeah.
But my point is,
You like variety, yeah.
We're going all around the houses today. The point is this, that, whatever industry, whatever qualification, it's not about the industry or qualification, it's about the individual, it's about the person. What's their intentions? I think absolutely in the life coaching, business coaching space, there should be more regulation, and I'm not sure how that's going to come about. I for one, champion it, and I will be doing what I need to
be compliant with something.
Correct, yeah. So for me...
What would that regulation in life coaching be from your perspective, like as a starting point?
I don't actually know.
Okay.
But because this is the thing, I also am of the mind you don't need to study for years and years and years to be able to help somebody.
Yeah.
So this is why it is a complex conversation. And
dealing with humans, it's going to be complex.
Right. I think, as long as you're clear in your marketing and you're clear in your contracts and things like this, that, like my contracts, for example, talk about you are responsible for your own well-being, you're doing this of your own decision, you don't have to do this.
Yeah.
You've got to allow people to make their own decisions, and they've got to be informed in those decisions. And I think one of the things that's difficult, but it's the same in any business, is this idea that sales tactics are to play on emotions. Mm-hmm. And this is where there's the grey area of when people are vulnerable and so on. Mm-hmm. But for me, one thing I do know, I see a therapist and I think he's great. I've had different counsellors in the past that it was rubbish. It didn't work for me. And as much as I speak about this bad experience with my coach, and a lot of it was toxic, it was part of my journey and I'm grateful for it. Mm-hmm. That experience, like you said, it taught me how not to coach, how I don't want to be with people. But also, at that point in my life, I did need somebody who wasn't my parents or family members, somebody who was a quote-unquote professional who I paid money to say, right, this is the fucking journey we're going on. This is what we're doing. We need to make some changes.
And grab you.
Right, so for me, there was still value in, a lot of value in that relationship. It's just that the person's intentions weren't always pure. He was very money orientated, and that's my point. It's what's the person's intentions behind it, and different people work with different people.
There's something in that. There's this story that I heard about prisoners of war in captivity, and they are, prisoners of war. So they're locked up in cages, denied food, denied water, abused, traumatized. It's the nature of being a prisoner of war. But then there's a psychological term, which I'm not quite sure what it is, so I won't quote it. But essentially it means, even though this person is the one responsible for holding you captive, because your human nature and your need system is to have that connection with other humans, and that is the only person, the abuser, that's traumatizing you, that's the only person you have access to have hope of getting this connection for your survival psychologically as a human being, you start to not necessarily forgive them, but you start to have some small amounts of adoration for them, or relationship with them, or friendship in your own view, that tries to kind of negate your brain from thinking it was all bad. Do you think that could be applicable with your relationship with that coach? Because it sounds like, if I was being really skeptical, it sounds like you're making excuses for, it sounds like a really messed up situation from the outside. And obviously this is your side of the story, right? I'm trying to be unbiased, but it sounds traumatizing. You know what I mean? Like, it sounds crazy, dude. Like, this is supposed to be something that is meant to help you and get you on the straight and narrow, and it did that. But often the destination is equally, if not more important than the journey that you're going on to get there, right? So both of those things go hand in hand, the journey and the destination. So just because you got the result doesn't mean it was still positive for your life. How do you think that affects the situation that you're in? Do you think that's kind of relevant to the way you look and process? Because at the end of the day, it sounds like you survived something. You were scared to leave a situation and you found the courage to do that. Congratulations, bro. You know what I mean? It's hard to do that. I was in a traumatized environment from 14 to 19, and I got a scholarship to go to America to get the hell out of there, and I left everyone behind and never went back. That took courage for me to do that, you know what I mean? And I can feel that it would have taken a lot of courage similarly for you to get out of that relationship.
It did, yeah.
But it sounds like you're making excuses for it.
No, I don't think I am. I think I'm self-aware enough to see that there was a lot of bullshit. And you're absolutely right. It wasn't all ethical, right, whatever you want to call it, the way that he chose to coach and chooses to coach, I believe. But my point is that in some of the worst experiences in your life and some of the biggest failures in your life and things like that is often some of the biggest lessons. And it's those lessons that make us so much stronger. It's those lessons that inform us. It's those lessons that now give us more awareness, understanding and empathy to be able to pass on and help others at a better level. So when I look at it and going, it wasn't all bad, that's what I'm talking about really, is I take good from the bad.
Your mindset and your perspective of what that situation was enabled you to become a better person
100%.
in what you want to do in your life.
So for that, I'm grateful for it.
Yeah.
And it's that's.
And you're not saying you're grateful to them for it. You're grateful to the universe for it.
Yeah, it's part of my journey. It's part of my story, and it's made me a better person. It's not destroyed me. It's not. There were times where and I was getting hate online through association with him because he had a lot of people that were felt wronged by him and
I think you're gonna have to tell me who this is off camera, dude.
Yeah.
I have no idea who you're talking about.
All I'll say is there's two of them,
right?
And they are twins.
Okay.
We'll leave it there because I can't be bothered with being called them, slandering them or whatever.
But yeah, you were getting associated hate from being students of them.
Because
or
exactly
mentees,
that.
whatever.
It's like you're his students, so you must have bad morals and blah blah blah. What they didn't realise is how, it's not like I lost my mind and was just completely and utterly just being led.
Yeah.
I still had self-awareness enough, but it was the fear. And also, this is the interesting thing I've reflected about. They manipulated terms that are used in personal development to keep you with them. So they speak about, quitting is for losers. In other words, don't quit, don't stop paying me. Yeah. You're a loser, and they would mock you and that kind of thing.
And if anybody did quit, would they get that?
Oh yeah.
Public hate.
Horrible. And that idea of, 99% of people aren't successful and don't think we've got to keep a tight bond. And when you are getting hate online, you're just like, they're the idiots, they don't understand. Success is lonely. There's not many people. So you go, well...
It's kind of like a cult.
But if you listen to Beyonce or whoever, they'll be saying the same thing. Like, it is lonely at the top, and you do have to make sacrifices, and don't listen to everyone around you if they've not got what you've got. So they're using the same quotes of people who are genuinely really successful.
Manipulating it.
And you go in, oh, right, I've just got to keep going and keep doing what I'm told.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what that... And it was 18 months, it wasn't a huge amount of my life, but...
It's a pretty long time.
It's a time in my life that made a huge impact in who I am today. I am such a different person because of it, and I believe I'm such a better person.
Yeah. Do you think that everything happens for a reason? That was what you needed to go through to become who you needed to become?
I'm not as philosophical as that.
No.
I believe life is just life, and you make the best of it.
Yeah.
But I do believe that everything you go through certainly has an impact, and it can be used for good, or it can be used to trample you down and hold you back.
All right, cool. Let's leave that topic right there. I think we've spoken enough about it. What about your work that you're doing now then? So what are you working on right now with the people that you're working with right now and helping? What are kind of the main outcomes and transformations that you're actually seeing in the work that you're doing with these people?
So I actually quit coaching for a long time. Well, I say a long time.
I'm asking about the transformation. You're like, I don't do no more.
I quit for 6 months. And I now only do it sporadically. I don't do it full time anymore.
Right.
And the reason being was, following on perfectly from what we spoke about, I needed to re-establish and re-evaluate everything and really make sure what I was doing. Anything I put my name to now has to be really thought out. It has to be truly aligned with my ethics and my values, and not be led by somebody else. So I took that time away. Now I'm all for, when I work with clients, I'm all about, look, let's figure out what your goals are. Let's recognize if there's limiting beliefs in there that are holding you back, that are maybe making you play small. And let's go for big goals. If you want to make a load of money, let's make a load of money. If you want to do a bodybuilding show, get in great shape, let's do it. However, why? Let's be really clear on what do you think it's going to give you and bring to your life. And not just a surface level, kind of like, oh, I'll just be happier and I'll be able to help the world. Like, let's go really deep on this so that we understand. And it's all the stuff we spoke about. Oh, I realised I was bullied when I was 7 and had this problem with my parent. And okay, well, do you think this is going to solve it? Or can we solve it in a better way?
100%.
So I'm working with, I guess, and that's not me putting people off. It's just me helping, if you want to still do it, I'll help, coach you, I'll guide you, I'll hold you accountable, I'll push you, I'll motivate you to do it. But making sure we're doing it for the right reasons is the first port of call. It's having that understanding. So for me, I've got a variety of different clients, from personal trainers, other coaches, hairdressers, beauticians. I've helped people overcome cocaine abuse, alcohol addiction, people that were on tablets for depression for many years. One person in particular was on numerous tablets for 25 years, and within 6 months of working with me, she'd been able to completely stop. And it's now been a few years since that as well, and she's still off them, healthier, fitter than she's ever been. So it's a complete range, but we're always operating from the same principles. It's the same foundational things. It's looking at your belief system, your identity, what you feel about yourself, and setting goals from a standpoint of understanding that stuff, not just setting goals because you think it's going to be the answer to your problem. So the other thing is Success School Now, which is my podcast, but it's also my membership. I just saw this gap in the market based on my experience with those previous coaches, where it's all high ticket and expensive for the average everyday person. And I thought personal development and having access to great people that have done great things, aside from just listening to a podcast, the actual getting the help and access to speak to someone on a weekly basis was so expensive for most people. So again, when I say I took some time away to reevaluate, I was like, I want to help normal people see that there is more for them, see that life coaching isn't just all scammers and just trying to, people get loads of money out of you and just give you a load of motivation. and see that, look, it's not about being a millionaire. If you don't want to be a millionaire, you don't have to. But I do truly believe that anybody watching this now, you know, if you're not a millionaire, if you're currently in employment and you've got a standard job or whatever, you can very, very easily get yourself into a position where you're doing six figures. Like, I honestly believe everyone can do 100 grand a year, but they don't believe it. And they see their way to get access into that world is pay a coach 10 grand or 20 grand, and they ain't got that money. So that's why I started my membership, where it's only £19 a month, and there's a free trial for 2 weeks before, because I want to grow it to have a huge community of people that start to genuinely change their life. They start to genuinely build self-esteem, they get around other people that are taking action and moving forwards in their life, and that can maybe go from a 30 grand a year job to starting a side hustle to maybe over the next few years building that to do an additional 30, 40, 50 grand, maybe even more, and have a lot more time freedom back. So what started out for me as just being someone who was lost in my life, overworked and stressed, and then getting swept up in this high ticket coaching thing and being pushed, because I stepped away, it enabled me to take lessons from that and see some of the value in that, because there was value in that, and then go, but hang on, there's this divide here where you've either got people going, yeah, you've got to go to uni, get a job and be happy with 35 grand a year, and then you've got these multi-millionaires going, you're all losers, you ain't got a clue, you need to pay me thousands of pounds to learn how to not be a loser. And I was like, both's bullshit.
Yeah.
You know, both end of the scale is bullshit.
Yeah.
And so for me now with my coaching, I'm not doing as much one-to-one. It's more about building an awesome community and doing group coaching with them.
It's amazing. It's a big transition though. What do you think about high ticket, high commitment? Is that true?
Yes, I do agree. And I do think it's that idea of, there was a quote I heard.
Well, what is high ticket for anyone who doesn't know? Because you've said high ticket, but I don't think it really explains for people who haven't heard it before.
Well, generally, my interpretation, I might be wrong, correct me, but it's like you're going to be paying, you know, the higher end of money, you know, might be thousands of pounds. It's generally going to be more one-to-one access to somebody rather than a group or, you know, a pre-recorded course or something like that.
Yeah.
So generally, yes, you're paying a lot of money, but generally you're getting the highest level of support and access. So, you know, it's not a case of me just bashing all high ticket product services, because it's not a case of that. I think where it goes wrong, so for example, if you've got a business that's doing well and you've got a business owner and they've got millions of pounds, paying someone 50 grand for coaching is relevant.
Yeah.
You know,
it's all in context, isn't it,
exactly.
to the client and what they should be getting?
Absolutely. And what I see goes wrong is some of these companies and coaches that aren't getting enough of those clients then start telling the everyday person, you need to pay this 50 grand. And I think that's where the problem comes. Take out a loan, do whatever you want, if like whatever you need to become successful.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's where it's super, super damaging.
I think it's really complicated though, because at the same time, you know, you're still of the opinion that you needed that at that time, where you've invested tens of thousands into this thing that wasn't the best experience. It's just so complicated. And I feel like there's no one simple answer that qualifies or disqualifies a human being that might have had £1 million turnover business that just crumbled and now they're on breadcrumbs, but they just need a motivation or an accountability partner or a coach to help manage and break down why some of the reasons are that they didn't get where they wanted to be. Yeah. And then they're back on top. And then it all makes sense again. It's like,
totally.
You know, it's like raising investment for a company. You're raising investment ahead of time because you know you're going to need to spend the money in the next 18 months. You have to forecast that in. So it's like, it's a very difficult kind of thing to even
You're absolutely
think
right. And it is about every individual's different and it is complex. I just saw it as generally, you know, you could pay a lot of money and what you got in return, did you need to spend that much to get that in return?
Yeah.
More often than not, I see it as no, you didn't. Yeah. But then I also get if that person, like they value their time and they are a multimillionaire, why would they do it for any less?
How can you validate a coach then? Because you've gone through this thing where you kind of picked the wrong coach in a way.
Yeah.
What would you do to make sure you're working with the right person and the right coach?
I think one of the best ways is to speak to people who have worked with them or are working with them, and more importantly, the ones that have. Because usually when that relationship ends, you get the truth. Yes. You know, when people have had time for reflection. Now, again, everyone's going to have different experiences, so you can't just go off that because different people work for different people, you know? It's like me with my counselling. I went to different counsellors and they didn't work for me, but that don't mean they didn't work for other people.
Yeah.
So I think it's about, if you can, speaking to people you maybe already know and trust and have a relationship with, so you know their personality, to get some honest, sound feedback from their experience.
Yeah.
I think the other thing is transparency. I think there's a lot of bullshit online, as we know, of people painting this perfect life. But if you actually see someone showing the other side and saying, listen, you know, I still struggle. I hate that with all these coaches saying, I used to have this problem. I still struggle with my weight now. Do you know what I mean? It's not like I did some magical 18 months of personal development mystery and suddenly I'm now a perfect human. There's a quote I say, which is, let's focus on progress, not perfection, i.e. we can never be perfect.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist. That is a standard we can never reach. So I think if you've got coaches that you hear speaking like that and saying, I can give you tools, I can give you advice, I can help you learn from my experience, but by the way, you'll still be a human being, you know? You won't just be in this position of, I used to struggle with this and I used to struggle with that. You'll still have bad days. Yeah. You'll still have uncertainty. You'll still have relationships where you make a mistake and they break down. You know, I'm going through a breakup now. It's been 2 months. It's still fucking hard.
You are?
Yeah. Me and my partner broke up at the end of last year. And it's sad and it's horrible and you still got to get up and work. And yes, I've got the tools to deal with it so much better, but the pain is still as painful as it ever has with any of my breakups, you know? So I think that's a big thing that I look for now, is do these look like genuine, real human beings? Because if it's too good to be true, it's probably not real. You know, if it's just, oh, I've now got a beautiful family, a beautiful home, beautiful car, beautiful life, my business is amazing, you're lying. That straight up, if that's how someone poses on social media, I probably would stay away, personally.
What's going on with your relationship?
Yeah, I was going to say, you want to ask me about the breakup?
Yeah, it sounds a bit raw, bro, so I don't think we have to go into it, but...
Yeah, we can. There was a lot of reasons we split up.
I saw you guys were quite happy. You know, I've known you and worked with you for now, you know, however long.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys were doing a lot together. You've gone on a lot of trips together. She was coming to the shows when you're going abroad. Yeah. This was the partner with the red hair, right?
Yeah.
That's just quite prolific.
He's seen her, he knows.
Yeah, it's quite prolific. You know, you don't forget someone with red hair.
Yeah.
But it's now kaput.
Done, and it's really sad. And she's a fucking awesome, beautiful soul, an amazing girl. And there's many reasons why we split up. You know, things like age differences and wanting different things in life. You know, she wants to be travelling. I want to be building a family and having children and settling.
Wow. And
that's different life stages. How do you make that work? It's very hard.
What was the age gap?
I don't know, was it about 7 years? 7 years?
Not that dramatic.
But she's sort of like coming up to mid-20s, whereas I'm early 30s, and I think that is quite different now. Again, with the social media age, it is all this, a lot more people travelling and having kids later is you know what a lot of people are doing.
You didn't align on creating and starting a family at this point.
No, and that's really heartbreaking. But I've got to own my shit as well. And one thing that I know is I took her for granted. You know, because I think a lot of that she probably would have potentially been happier to change some of that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe she wouldn't, but she seemed like she would have changed stuff if maybe I'd have been a bit more present. And I think, look, I got complacent. I'll be, again, completely transparent. If you think about the last few years, what I went through and all the changes and all the confusion, I think there was a lot of confusion about what is right. Should we strive for more money? Should we be more present and content with less? Oh, I don't know anymore. There was a lot of confusion.
Everyone going through that.
Right. So there's that, but also at the same time, I'd made more money than I've ever made. I'd got into the best shape of my life doing the bodybuilding. I've helped more people than I've ever helped, got more validation, and then I got this beautiful girl, partner in my life. So I ticked those boxes. And there's a great quote that I truly, you know, believe is true, which is success creates complacency, and complacency creates failure. And I think I did. I got complacent. And I also got a bit, from like, we talked about the eating disorder and that, I also got a bit like, I'm a bit exhausted with going to the gym and eating healthy. And I did slip into some old habits of all in, all out mentality, which is something I'm a big advocate for not doing. But again, I'm human.
Being extreme.
And I did, and I think I just wasn't being the best me. And if you're not being the best you can't serve your relationship as good as you want to. And I was just busy working a lot, and so I think it is, I could say it's sad and it's the age difference, but I think what's more important to focus and reflect on is what could I have done better? And that's the honest answer, is I know I didn't serve the relationship as well as I should. And it's another steep, heartbreaking, painful fucking learning curve. Here we go again. But this is life.
Yeah.
This is the reality, and you learn from these mistakes.
Thanks for being so transparent and vulnerable. This is one hell of a podcast. I didn't think that was going to be what we were kind of closing on, but we're not going to close on that. For anyone out there, Matt is now single. We got to get this man a partner. We got to get someone to build a family with.
I need a family, man.
He's a nightmare.
I've not really sold myself, though,
forget, qualifying coaches, also qualifying partners. Go and speak to people who've worked with them.
Yes.
We'll have to put her details in the description box.
One thing I will say is
not to be insensitive, bro.
No, we have both genuinely got a lot of respect for each other. Nobody's perfect.
I could see from social media it was a genuine bond. It wasn't just something for show.
Not all.
Especially knowing you, and you obviously have very good character radar. It's amazing. It's amazing to hear. But thanks for being so honest. You know what I mean? Like, no one's got it perfectly figured out. When you're just talking about perfect family, perfect house, perfect car, perfect business. Mate, you were talking about me like 3 years ago. That was the picture and the tick boxes that I was trying to fill.
I feel the last year I've really seen, in particular, I don't know if I'm right, but this last year you've shifted a lot of your views on this. And I don't know if it's the therapy and stuff. And
I think it's the children. It's the children.
All right, rub it in. Yeah,
sorry,
children
brother.
make you so much whole.
Nah, man, it's the kids. Yeah. They change the value, and you probably are anticipating this, which is why you're ready to start a family, in my opinion. Yeah. But for me, having children shifted my value proposition of what I thought was most valuable in my life. I keep saying it like all the time, and it sounds like a broken record now, but it's so true. Like, them tick boxes that you described, I was imagining a video of me literally showing every post from that era of my development. And it's just development. You have nothing, you get loads of stuff, you think it's going to do something and it doesn't. So now you're like, what's the actual purpose? Do I have less and have more enjoyment? Can I quieten my ambition and have a bit more contentness? And until you go through it, you never know, because there's this big mystery around what would it be like to make 6 figures a year? What would it be like to make £500,000 a year in a business? And then you do it all and it's like check mark, and then you're like, oh, this is how we're supposed to behave when we get money. We're supposed to go and flex. We're supposed to go and validate and get social proof. And these are all marketing things. So for me as a marketer, it's like I know all of these different routes for marketing. And I see people doing these really successfully for their type of customer, which is not a problem in my world. Like, if your customer is a 16 or an 18 to 22-year-old who's in that life decision of, do I go to uni, do I go to college? And you've got a low ticket kind of price point of £500 to get your e-com store built, they're gonna wanna see Lambos, Dubai, private planes. They're gonna wanna see the Andrew Tate lifestyle, which Hustlers University is all that demographic. It's no coincidence.
And it's done pretty good.
And no, but he's an expert marketer, so I don't, vilify it. I feel like it's great execution. I can respect it from a business and marketing strategy. But then when I did it for myself, like, I tested it because we've got ad spend, so I put the Porsche ads out there, and I was never able to do a video of me promoting social media with my Porsche, as the main primary luxury thing. Now, I've had nice cars where I talk about in ads, you don't need ice baths, you don't need to wake up 4 a.m, you don't need a Porsche, you don't need an electric supercar, whilst I'm in those cars for effect as marketing tools. But I'm not saying, hey, look at me in my Porsche Taycan or my Porsche Macan GTS, you want to be me, come and spend 3-4 grand with me. That is something I could never do from an integrity perspective. It was just too cringy for the real businesses and the real people in my network, because I'm not a young entrepreneur, we're getting on. I'm 31 years old now. That's what the kids are doing.
Yeah.
So why am I competing with kids when my clients, some of them, are empire builders?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're multimillionaires with multiple businesses.
Yeah.
It's like, it's embarrassing for me to take that route.
Yeah.
And over the last year,
genuine wealth, they don't value those things because
there's
they've
no
gone
flex.
through that journey.
There's no flex.
Yeah.
You know, it's like Kanye West was saying, it's a terrible example, but he was saying, look, why did I take off all my jewelry? Billionaires don't wear jewelry. And he's like, that's just a simple answer to it. He doesn't wear jewelry, so when he started, but you know, he's got his issues he's going through.
Yeah.
But it's so true for me. Like, you know, having children, you know, I put my son's name on the Porsche. The number plate was F4 Neo. Spent like £1,200 on that number plate. For what? To show my son later in life, hey, before you even did anything, before you even took your first breath, you had your name on a Porsche. How's that going to teach him about hard work, integrity, ethics? Oh, I can do nothing, not even be born, and my dad's already sorted me out. That's not the kind of human being I want to raise. And that's what made me really shift my perspective. And, you know, it's the hardest thing in the world, business and parenting. But I've surrendered and I've kind of said, you know what? This isn't going to be the highest income period of my life. And I don't care anymore because their opinion is all that you really start to care about. What do my kids think of me?
And it just becomes a hungry beast, doesn't it? Where when is enough enough? And that's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you're on that roller coaster and you're not doing it for things like children and you are doing it for the flex or whatever, it's never enough.
It's so shallow. There's never enough flex. There's always someone who's going to flex more than you, have more ability to flex than you. And it's just this shallow competition that I see a lot of the people in their 20s getting sucked into, like I got sucked into.
Yeah.
And it's like this social proof and validation is just a road to no fulfillment and some serious issues behind the closed door of social media and what people see. And I know it. You know how many creators, right? And I won't name names, but you know how many creators reach out to me to collaborate who have millions of followers, millions of views, and they're dead broke, bro. Dead broke. And they reach out for support and help. They come now with humility.
Yeah.
But the same ones, they'll be out there that will pretend they've got it all made. Yeah. They'll reach out and they'll pretend it's all absolutely flying, and they'll carry that badge of ego on them where we are killing it, we're the best.
It's a dangerous game.
Exhausting, which is why we've done no influencer marketing over the years, because I can't manage those kind of people and I can't expose my teams to those kind of people because it's very toxic.
Correct.
Levels of communication.
Being around that, it makes me think as well. I'm interested what your answer is to this, because I ask this question a lot on my podcast. This idea of ambition and like drive. Yeah. I don't know if you feel the same. I feel like that's just within me, and it's almost like a character trait. Like I haven't necessarily just chosen it. I feel it's part of my personality. Yeah. I could be wrong, but I feel like it is. With that in mind, and if you feel that it's part of your personality, do you think ambition is a blessing or a curse?
I've been saying this for a while now. Ambition is a curse if not managed correctly.
Love that.
Like, my ambition has made me make terrible decisions, like overspending, over-risking, investments. I'm not talking about spending on rubbish. I'm talking about I've made so many bad decisions with investing capital, with people who I trusted, clients, you know, people who we've helped promote. I invest in their stuff and it goes to shit. I'm like, holy smokes, like what's happened? And that's because of greed. Ambition not managed correctly becomes greed. And it's like, it's like, you know, I just had these mad, and it's like ambition, when you manage it correctly, you set nice targets, sustainable growth is so much nicer as a lifestyle. But like when it's focused around greed and, you know, done $500,000 this year. How do I get to $1 million this year? How do I get to $1 million this month? How do I get to $1 million a week? Why? What if you have to sacrifice your mental health, your physical health, your relationships, your family relationships, even just remembering to feed your dog? Like, you know,
dog's gone on.
I've got a dog walker 3 times a week now.
Yeah.
If I have to hire my dog walker more, I shouldn't have dogs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I want a lifestyle where I can enjoy my dogs because I love animals. Nice. So it's like, why are we doing, like, it's that circle again. We're making money to spend money, to get people to validate success, to then be back trying to make money, to do more. And this circle gets bigger and bigger. And then as soon as your children arrive, you're fucked because they need all the attention, they need all the time, they need all the resource.
Yeah.
Their life, you know, is dependent on you being responsible. You know, that true responsibility. I was so irresponsible, dude, with the success that I've achieved in that first 3 to 4 years. And you know, I've been doing this business now for 7 years. Yeah. So it's just that maturity sets in where I'm now like, I'm not, you know, even Deliver Me as an investment. I'm down 30 grand in Deliver Me of my hard-earned after-tax income. That's my own money, you know what I'm saying? And that was great. It was exciting. It was before my son was born where the conversation happened. This was a time where I was investing everywhere. Had stocks, forex, companies. I was on a mission, my man, to just build this empire.
And
you
it's
know?
exciting.
And it was exciting, it was fun, and it was, you know, this office, we'd have people coming through every day that I've never met before for face-to-face meetings to talk about their projects, not for sales, like partnerships, you know what I mean? And even at that time, like, in hindsight, it was the biggest challenge in the world to try and take Deliveroo and Just Eat on. It was like, it was nuts, but you're just so ambitious that you're like, we can do it. Yeah. And, you know, that whole period, actually, now other startups come to me and they're like, it didn't work out to Deliver Me. You've got resources, you've got the experience, you're probably better now for it. Come and jump in on our project in a different industry where we're trying to raise capital, we're trying to do this, we're trying to do that, and we're going to give you shares. You know, you can invest or we'll just give you shares, equity partnership, whatever. And now, back in the day, I'll be, yep. Yeah. All done. Grant Cardone said, say yes to everything. Yeah. Let's go.
Yeah. 10x.
Mate, no. Thanks for the invite. No. I can't take these risks anymore, bro. My time's too valuable. It's my time used to be infinite for business. And now with parenting, it ain't, because I'm not willing to sacrifice my relationship with my kids. So it's like, now there's an alternative. It makes you view the way you were doing things a lot differently. And it's the most beautiful journey, bro. So, yeah, man, I hope you find the right person to take that journey with you. Hey, you never say never. It could be the same person, but later on, who knows?
Who knows?
Bro, don't ask me questions, man. I go on too long.
Is that the biggest lesson from
bro,
this
I think all the
podcast
batteries are gone now. We're going to check if any of these cameras are still rolling. Thank you, Matt. If there's one thing that you needed to know in your first 365, what would it have been to keep you going and to keep you thriving and on that journey of success? What's the advice you needed?
I would say stop saying yes to everything. Literally, this is it. I have reflected on this. Yeah. You know, what would I do differently when I started? Do less better. Do less to a higher standard, better quality, and take your time.
Big up. Matt, thank you so much. I was coming for a one-handed, but then the double clap on top. Amen to that, brother. Thank you. Where can people follow you and catch up with what you're doing and your Instagram handle?
Instagram at Matt Hall Official. It's the official version of me.
Yeah, I'm sure you've got like loads of fake
I got some of
spammy
the fake
accounts.
ones, yeah. Some
impersonators.
It's the official is spelled with a 0. That's the fake one.
Right.
Mine's official with an O, and it's the same on TikTok as well. They're the 2 main platforms.
That's where you find him. Check him out. Thank you again, bro.
Thank you.